I took my 40 from a 4.81 all the way down to a 4.54 in approximately 2-ish months. So here's how I did it. Let's start first of all with where I was, right? I was slow. I was barely a rotator on my high school football team. I was smart, but athletically, I just couldn't run with some of the guys that were in our district. Right, there's D1 guys all over the field in 6A1 in Oklahoma, so I just couldn't hang with some of them when I was running a 4.8. All the college coaches that I talked to said, you're really athletic, you're savvy, you've got a knack for the game, but we don't think you can run. We don't think you have the speed to play with some of these guys at the next level. So I was frustrated, obviously. So I started looking for answers. Got on Instagram, got on TikTok, got on YouTube, and I was trying everything that I saw. Every drill, every free workout program that was out there. I was taking everything that I could find and I was just throwing the kitchen sink at training my speed. And I'm gonna give you a hint, none of it worked, okay? Now, there's a lot of reasons why none of that worked. First of all, I was overtraining the absolute mess out of my body, right? So I was sprinting 3 or 4 days a week with way too many yards, way too much volume. I was lifting heavy. I was doing all types of things, okay? My central nervous system was probably fried. I was probably running at like 50% of what I could have been if I just slowed down how much I was doing, right? And I'm sure a lot of you guys have been in a situation like that. Hey, I'm slow. I know if I got faster, I would put myself in a better position to move maybe into a rotator role on my team. Maybe I'm 0.1 to 0.15 away from some college coaches giving me the offer that I want. And so I want to use my journey to help you guys out. So the first thing that I did once I finally found real training for speed was I realized that the majority of your 40 is based on acceleration, right? I was super caught up in trying to get max velocity. How many miles per hour could I run? Because I thought if I could get my max velocity up, well, of course my 40 time would go up. But the majority of your 40 is actually not even close to your top speed. So you have to overly put the emphasis on acceleration. I did a ton of sled pushes. I did a ton of sled marches, sled bounds. I did sled pulls once my body was strong enough to hold that acceleration position through my entire body. I did a lot of technique work. I videoed myself coming off the line, just coming off for 5 to 10 yards over and over and over again for weeks on end. I got really into wall drills. I got really into half kneeling starts and broad jumps, anything that was going to push my horizontal force capabilities forward. And then I did a little bit of max velocity work. I did some wickets. I did time at least one 10-meter fly every week just to push myself max velocity wise. And I did see some max velocity gains, but I think that's mostly from dropping out a ton of volume. I was only training 2 days a week when I dropped my 40 time instead of 4 or 5, what I was doing before, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are too. And then those 2 to 3 days a week, because I realized 3 was better at some point in time. And then I lifted heavy 2 days a week on my legs, and then I did like a dynamic leg day on my other day. And so it took me probably about a week or 2 of doing those things before I kind of realized what the best way to put all of these things together was. What I ended up coming up with was having an acceleration day where I did some type of resisted sprinting mixed with some acceleration technique drills, usually wall drills. And then I would combine that with a horizontal force plyometric, whether it was, I did a lot of bounds and I did a lot of broad jumps. And then I was always with my buddies, so I would play some type of acceleration game. Maybe someone would drop a ball 10 yards away and me and one of my buddies would have to come up from a push-up start and see who could get there first. So that would be my first big work day. And then Wednesdays would be more of a technique day with a little bit of max velocity. So I would do a bunch of bounds, a bunch of skips, a bunch of dribbles, and then I would do a couple 30-yard buildups into a 10-meter fly, looking at my time every single time, trying to push that number because I was only getting 2 timed flies in every week, so I knew I had to try and beat that number every single time. And then Friday I would come back for some more acceleration work and a little bit more technique stuff. And I just did that same exact thing every week. I didn't change out the drills. Maybe I would add a progression to it, like instead of doing single leg switches on a wall, I would do double leg switches. And then after I did double leg switches, I would just do continuous switches for time. On my sled pushes, I would go for more yards. And once I put enough yards under myself, I would then add more weight. And I just did that. It was simple, but I attacked simple savagely with intent, okay? I think a lot of people get so caught up in trying to find the newest fancy thing when really you should just go back, find the simplest thing that works for you and become a master at it. And that's exactly what I did. I found the things that pushed acceleration to the maximum that it could be, and I became savagely good at it. And I ended up dropping 2/10 off my 40 time, almost 3. And that's what I did. So that's how I dropped my 40 from a 4.5 or from a 4.8 down to a 4.5. The link to the program, because I wrote the whole thing down just so I could give it to y'all. Link is in my bio. No pressure to buy it because I'm gonna keep giving free game. So get better today.